I'm Jeff Matlow. Welcome to the best leadership podcast ever. Welcome back to the best leadership podcast ever, where every week we rethink your daily behaviors to help you turn into a leader that other people want to follow. My name's Jeff Matlow. I'm a leadership coach for executives and entrepreneurs. I'm also a 3-time entrepreneur, an author, a keynote speaker. Enough about me already, right? Today, we're going to talk about crisis management, and it starts with a few questions to you. First of all, how well do you cope when you're confronted with a crisis? Do you remain calm when there's chaos around, or do you just go off the rails? What's your decision-making like when you're stressed? Are you effective and efficient, or you freeze like a deer in the headlights that's about to get hit by an SUV? You see, because the ability to shine when things appear like they're falling apart is a trait that separates the great leaders from the rest. And I want you to be a great leader. So I'm going to give you a little bit of advice on what you can do to get there, and it starts with 2 words. Waffle House. That's right, Waffle House. And in case you've been living under a short stack of pancakes all your life, Waffle House is a 24-hour diner that's primarily located in the southern United States. You choose any part of the country that's prone to tornadoes or hurricanes, and odds are you're going to find a Waffle House restaurant somewhere nearby. Now, every Waffle House is open all the time, and I mean all the time. In fact, the company prides itself on its ability to keep its restaurants open. And they should, because they're pretty darn good at it. See, Waffle House is like the Terminator of restaurants. No matter what artillery you throw at it, no matter how hard you try to destroy it, it just keeps going. And it's all a result of their conscious concern for crisis management. The Waffle House has these groups called the jump teams. They're like a version of SEAL Team 6, but with less SEALs and more waffles. The moment a potential disaster is brewing in one of the Waffle House regions, the Waffle House jump teams jump into action. You know, faster than you can say, extra gravy on my biscuits, they storm into the region with generators, pans, batter, butter, and they ensure that the Waffle House stays serving at full speed despite the chaos that's going on around them. In some of the worst catastrophes, it's only taken a few hours to get the restaurants back in business. It can easily be argued that the Waffle House is the best in the world when it comes to maintaining calm amidst crisis. And this is one reason why FEMA uses the Waffle House as a way to rank the severity of a catastrophe. They call it the Waffle House Index. Now, the Waffle House Index has 3 levels. Green means there's a full menu with full power. Yellow means there's a limited menu with possible power loss, but the restaurant's still open. And then red on the Waffle House Index means the Waffle House is closed. So as a former head of FEMA once said, if you get to a disaster zone and the Waffle House is closed, that's really, really bad. But it's not just during a disaster that the Waffle House is important. In fact, if your Waffle House closes before the potential disaster even occurs, that's the sign that you need to get the heck out of Dodge as fast as you can. And more importantly, the status of the Waffle House is a barometer of both the damage done to an area as well as the speed in which economic recovery can occur. That's how important Waffle House's crisis management team influences others. And that's why this is going right back to you and your leadership. At some point in your career, things are going to go wrong. Horribly wrong. It happens to all of us. Maybe your most productive employees will suddenly leave the company. Maybe the website will crash. Maybe a global pandemic will hit and you'll be forced to change your entire business model. That one sounds familiar. But whatever is going to happen, by the time the crisis hits, it'll be too late to begin your preparation. You see, you can't protect the fan once the shit has already hit it. The reason leaders fail in times of crisis is because they haven't spent the time to create a culture that can quickly adapt to crisis. But you're not going to be one of those leaders, right? Right? So you probably have health insurance in case something goes wrong with your body. And you probably have renters or homeowners insurance in case something goes wrong with your living space. So what type of leadership assurance are you going to create for your team in case something goes wrong at work? You know what? Let me tell you what you're going to do. There are 7 things you're going to do. First is think. Have a discussion with your key people about what potential crises you might encounter. Make a list. This could include team members suddenly leaving or unavailable, communications going down, unhappy clients. It could be a number of things. It's your business. You come up with a list. Number 2 then, backup. For each of the items you just listed, rate your current contingency plans on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is no plan at all and 10 is a fully solidified plan. Anything below a 7, you're going to focus on. Anything above a 7, you're good. Congratulations. So for those items below a 7, you're going to create a contingency plan for each of the items. Right? It doesn't necessarily have to be extremely detailed. In some cases it does. But in some cases, you just need to know the general elements of what should happen, how should it happen, and who should be accountable for it. Then, number 4 is ensure everybody on the team understands their responsibility in a crisis. Where does the responsibility start and where does it end? This step is hugely important. In fact, it may be the single most important thing in any crisis management, of people understanding what they have to do. 5th is communicate. What are the primary platforms that you're going to communicate internally and externally when a crisis occurs? How are you going to communicate with each stakeholder and in what order? This includes clients, partners, customers, board members, each other, whoever you need to communicate with. Make sure you understand how that's going to happen, who's going to do it, and how they're going to do it. And 6 is decision making. What decisions is each person empowered to make? What decisions are they not empowered to make? And finally, who is responsible for the chicken and waffles? Okay, maybe that last one isn't actually one of them, but I'm just making sure that you're still listening to this podcast. Now here's the reality of this, is that you're more prone to fail and you're more prone to fall into the chaos if you don't prepare in advance for crisis. However, whatever plan you put together is probably not going to be executed because you can't always prepare for every crisis. However, and here's an important however, the process of planning is the most important part of preparing your team for the crisis. The process of understanding who is responsible for what, how it should happen, what the responsibilities are, and how they should communicate, those are the elements that, regardless of the crisis, will help you get through. Crisis readiness isn't an option. It's a necessity because a crisis is going to happen. And don't just take my advice from this. Take the lead from the Waffle House. Make sure you keep that griddle going. After all, the waffles aren't going to cook themselves when the catastrophe comes. Hey, if you like this, please give it 5 stars, leave a review. I'd be so appreciative of you. And in fact, I am appreciative of you. And if there's any way I can help, if you're interested in coaching or you have a challenge that you're trying to overcome, reach out to me. I'm at leadership@bytitleonly.com. It's great to have you here. I'll talk to you next week. Ta-ta.